And congratulations everybody, especially the Silver Jubilee President Mayank. It's really heartening to see an organization stand the test of time for 25 years and in a very vibrant way. That's, many people have mentioned that, and undoubtedly it is. With 120 odd members, Sanjeevani under your wraps, which is a very, very unique project which I have not really known much about, but I've seen it. All having said this, I must also thank Vinay for having considered me worthy of coming here to address you on this very different topic. Today's month, being a February month, is a month of World Understanding and Peace. And why do we celebrate this as a World Understanding and Peace is personally because, essentially because 23rd February 1905 was the birth of this organization, or the movement as you may put it as. And we consider this, that we met for a reason which came out of boredom, culminated into a service organization, and then finalized it on the international levels as an organization which is pursuing peace and world understanding, which is the take for everybody. If there are certain universal truths, if somebody has to ask me this question, would you like to be happy? The answer is going to be universally true, yes. And would you like to have peace in your life and around you? The answer is going to be universally true, yes. Rarely would you find somebody saying no. To understand how to bring about this peace, when we talk about the fourth syllabus of the Rotary International, World Understanding and Peace, which has got a separate avenue as such, we need to understand before we evolve a solution for peace. For any subject for that matter, we have to have a complete awareness and an understanding before you can resolve it, or before you could come out with a solution for that. Many a times we only expect peace without understanding the reason why there is no peace. Simple. The moment you understand there is the reason for it, you possibly, and I'm not giving you a 100% solution to this, nobody could, because there are enough complexities which are wheels within wheels to even understand them. So today there is an attempt made on my behalf for us to understand, all of us, to understand where does this conflict begins with and what are those issues which are involved whereby we are not able to achieve that target of peace. Whether it is Rotary International which is pursuing it, whether it is United Nations organization which is pursuing it, whether there is any other international body which is pursuing that, the understanding is very, very important. And to do that, we must also understand Rotary has taken a very unique initiative in creating peace scholars. Peace scholars don't just go to areas of various universities which are 7 in number to only give you a solution to peace. That entire course content is to basically understand what is the reason for there is no peace, where there is conflict. And only on having understood that, they possibly would attempt to bring about some peace. And that is one of the very, very huge initiatives taken by an organization which is an NGO. No other organization in this world has taken an initiative in training and preparing and making peace scholars. $70,000 are invested. It's not spending. It's an investment with returns on investment that is expected. So well, just to touch upon this topic, I would like to start with a disclaimer. I intend not to discuss the merits and the demerits of any faith. Everybody has their own faith and it is well respected. As much as anybody who is following any other faith except Hinduism here, let's say Islam or Christianity. No, besides that,
lots of Jains here.
Pardon me?
Lots of Jains.
Doesn't matter. I'm only giving you because we are going to be discussing certain things. So this attempt or mentions here are only to make you aware of certain things, and there is no comment here. There is no dismissing anybody or demeaning any faith and putting another faith on a different pedestal and say, oh, we are better, they are not. No. Everybody has their own respectful faith, and everybody's faith should be respected. This is the first thing that I would like to start upon. 2, these are historical facts. 1, whatever we are going to discuss now. 3, there are biblical myths. When I say myth, it could be either considered as true, or it can be considered as a figment of imagination, or it could be considered as one such storytelling ideas. And then a geopolitical issues which might bring you down to an understanding about why are we so hassled in our lives. End of the day, I do not know if we can resolve it or otherwise are we really eligible for to bring an understanding about it. Yes, but by the end of the day I am certain about the fact that we'll go home with a better understanding as to why somebody does something, why somebody doesn't do certain things. When we talk about Osama bin Laden being one of the biggest terrorists, when we talk about somebody blowing himself up as a suicide attempt, and you say, अरे यार किसने यार बच्चे का नाम दिया, उसने बच्चे की हत्या करा दी, 10,000 लोग, हजारों लोग मरे, ये वो सब कुछ. 9/11 happened in New York, and it was a 100% suicidal attempt. 100%, no stakes involved. No stakes involved. Whenever there is a stake involved, there is a possibility of a failure. And what is the final stake for a human being? The final stake for a human being is his life. वो जान देने के लिए अगर तैयार हो गया तो सवाल ही नहीं, he is going to be a 100% successful person. जान खुद की बचाकर अगर वो कुछ और करना चाहता है तो there is a possibility of a failure. But here these guys decided that they are going to die and take a few people along with them. They did it with some intention in their mind. They may be justifying their, I'm not trying to say that was right, but in their own subjective reality they must be justifying it. So there are reasons for everybody to do certain things. Right or wrong is a very different way of looking at it. So I'm going to take you back something like 4,000 years old story. I'm going to take you back a little bit of geography. I'm taking you back to a little bit of history. How many of you have visited Middle East per se? How many of you have visited Israel per se? If you have not done it, and if you have been a part of the district conference, the Israeli Consul General has invited Rotarians on friendship exchange, and they are going to arrange it. And I have a very earnest request to you all. There are a few things people will write down before I die. I would like to do this. Israel should be on your list. Israel should be on your list. And incidentally and fortunately and coincidentally, I'm not trying to say anything much about myself, but I visit almost all the countries in the world. My intention was not only to visit them, but it was my hobby to understand the culture, understand humans, understand people. So I have not visited all those shopping areas that may be attraction to most of the tourists from India or anywhere else. But I visited small houses, met people on the roadsides, had a roadside khana, or stayed with them to understand their psyche better. And by the end of the day, my friends, when we talk about this RYE, when we talk about GAC, when we talk about today's VTT, in this world, including the worst of the countries that you may have in your mind, conceived in your mind, everybody wants peace. As much as you want it, the person in Israel wants it, and the person in Afghanistan also wants it. But conceptions are different. Any which way, let's start with the story. Yes, carry on. I'll give you the cue, sir, and we'll keep on going. The forked minds. Why the forked minds is a divided mind. Mind is divided always, ye karu ke nahi karu, karu ke nahi karu. Forked mind, okay? It's a biblical myth. The topic starts with the forked minds, the fathomless faiths. There's no fathom. You cannot say that there is a limit to the faith. You can go to any limit. When we talk about the suicide bombers, it is nothing new. Suicide bombers or dying for religion and faith is nothing new, my friends. Go back in your own times, go back in your own history. In Sikhism, many people died for faith. In Hinduism, many people died for faith. They didn't take others with them. That was the difference. They did not die. They did not die along with the intention of taking 1,000 others with them. That was the only difference. But they died for the faith. So dying for faith in Islam is the same equivalent or parallel that dying for faith in Sikhism or also in Hinduism or for that matter any other place. But the difference is how we look at it. Okay? The fathomless faith, and finally the divine and the priceless promise given by the God alone, God Almighty. Yes, sir. This is the critical area, my friends. This is the world map. And the small little area that you see here is the critical area. And this entire area that you may put in today is called the Middle East. It is called the Middle East. This of course has different nomenclatures, but why this Middle East? Because these guys were controlling and they were the dictating people. And they said, this is the Middle East and this is the Far East. They said it and we take it that way. To you this is Middle West for all you know. But they were the dictating people. England and Europe was the dictating people and they said, भैया इसको Middle East कहते हैं, बस खत्म. हम यहाँ रहते हुए भी उसको Middle East कहते हैं. And according to them, this is the Far East. Japan, China, etc., etc. Any which way, not to go into that aspect of it, but we are talking about a critical area which is the Middle East. Now, I am taking you to this country called Iraq. What is your impression about Iraq today? Let's interact. What is your impression, ma'am, about Iraq today? Saddam Hussein comes in your mind first. Saddam Hussein, who encroached upon Saudi, comes in your mind first. Saddam Hussein, who committed atrocities, comes in your mind first. His conquering of Kuwait comes in your mind first. But do you also have an idea that this area is a cradle of civilizations? The most early civilizations recorded and detected comes from Iraq. Are you aware of it? Not very many people are. And why do they come?
Mesopotamia. Is it called Mesopotamia?
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia.
Right? Mesopotamia. What is the meaning of Mesopotamia? A Mesopotamia is nothing else but a land between two rivers. A land between two big rivers is Mesopotamia. Okay? Any land between two rivers would be considered as Mesopotamia. But this one such land, which was considered as Mesopotamia, was considered because it is a known place and a known and identified place and considered as the only one. Though theoretically you have two rivers going and any land in between, the Greeks would say it's Mesopotamia. It's a Greek word. Okay? So in this fork, and that's where the fork is. In this fork, there were 16 different civilizations which came and went. 16 different civilizations. Why so? Because it was a very fertile crescent, very, very, very fertile land, supplied by the water from two rivers. And which are the two rivers, sir, if you have that in mind? Tigris and Euphrates. Right? Tigris and Euphrates are these two rivers which supplied enough water in that fertile land. Naturally, humans settled down in those places because agriculture was prevalent at that point in time. So no doubt about the fact that civilizations after civilizations settled down there. Then we have yet another very classic civilization called Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, which is the Indus Valley civilization. True? And there are many such things if you go down to South America, if you go down to Central America. Let's not get into that part of it. At this point in time, it suffices to say that we are talking about the point or a flash point of civilization. And one such civilization was known as Ur. You are Ur. You are Ur. Understand? Please be with me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it as interesting, as storytelling as possible. Yeah? So this is Ur. These are the two rivers. And this is the land between the two rivers. And this is called Mesopotamia, Tigris, Euphrates. Are we clear? Oriented? Very well?
Yes.
And this is Ur. Well done. In Ur, Bible says so. But there is a difference between Hinduism and any other religion. Hinduism do not have a focal point. It is not necessary for a Hindu or any supplements or complements of Hinduism where you say this is the focal point. यहाँ जाने से आपको सब पाप निकल जाते हैं. You can go to the nearby mandir and वहाँ से आपके पाप निकल जाते. But for an Islamic person, unless and until he goes for a Hajj, he doesn't consider his life to be fulfilled. Unless and until a Christian visits Vatican City in Rome, incidentally and very surprisingly, there is a politics involved in that, he doesn't consider his life to be fulfilled, and so on and so forth. Until and unless a Jew doesn't visit the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, he doesn't consider his life to be complete. अयोध्या के लिए हम लोगों ने बहुत सारा झगड़ा किया, बट कितने लोग अयोध्या गए राम मंदिर देखने के लिए? कोई नहीं गए. पॉलिटिकल इशू है, सालों साल चलता है. How often has anybody said, मैं जब तक अयोध्या नहीं जाऊंगा तब तक my life is not complete? No, because our ideas are different, our thought process is different, our outlook is different. Equally there is no one book or a literature which can be considered as a focal point without which Hinduism is not complete. There are a series of books, series of Upanishads. Hinduism is based on series of books, whereas Christianity, a focal point is Bible. Islam, Quran is the focal point, and so on and so forth. So before Bible, what was the writer? The writer was called Old Testament. Understand these words. Things will be very, very clear next time you talk to your friends or whatever you have heard by now. तब तक समझा नहीं होगा तो अब clear हो जाएगा. शायद. I'm making an attempt. Old Testament and the New Testament is Bible. Understand? Old Testament is some such writer, forget about the details of it, is also called Torah. Torah is a religious book of Jews. Jews. Suffices to say that, not to go into the details of it, otherwise we'll have 3 different evenings to spend myself over here. Okay? Torah. Old Testament says, there was one gentleman here and he was born in Ur. And he was commanded by God that भैया तुम ऊर छोड़ के कहीं और निकल जाओ. ये ऊर को छोड़ के you take your family along with you and leave that family and go in the search of promised land. Remember this very important keyword, promised land. And he heard the Lord. He was a blessed soul. He could listen to Lord's messages. So he took his family, whatever little that he had. He was married to a lady called Sarah. Okay. And he took his family, he was a childless man. And he left Ur in the search of promised land. And what did Lord tell him? So says Old Testament, that when you go there, you will have enough children who will be governing that promised land. So he leaves Ur. He says, this is not for you. You leave Ur and you go to in search of promised land. Sir. Alright. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household and go to the land I will show you. So says Torah, which is the Old Testament, and it is in the chapter called Genesis 12.1. These are all things which are lifted from all these religious books. These are not what I say so. Okay? Torah is a Hebrew teaching and instruction. आगे To your offsprings, I will give this land. To your offspring, मैं आपके बच्चों के लिए, I will give this land to you. He appears to Abraham and he said, so who? Lord. Again. These, you have to understand this, my friend. A man can go to any extent. You and me can go to any extent to prove your faith. If we are atheist, which is we do not believe in God, you will be less convinced. Accept it. The day when you start accepting that there is some other entity which is governing your entire destiny, you will go to any extent to please it. उसमें आपका sacrifice भी आएगा, आपको मैं को मारने से मुझे 2 लाख रुपए मिल जाए तो पकड़ के मारूंगा. I'll go to any extent to do that, and that is exactly what is happening, because we go mad when we are faithful. But the moment we have no God in mind, you have nothing to talk about. You have to talk about your own self. You believe in yourself. Every action of yours is going to give you some kind of a result. That's what you believe in. Then there are few atheist countries which have made much more progress than religious countries. Let me tell you that. I'm not trying to debate religion here, but I'm only giving you the records of it. So, सरकार या